Right, good morning and welcome to today's webinar on behalf of Origin Amenity Solutions. Myself, Jeremy Hughes, Export Manager, will run us through a little update on OAS and where it's sitting at the moment moving forward. We'll have Kevin Scarce, who will be going through the TurfKeeper digital platform, and Angus Finlayson, who will also then follow on with MachineKeeper and some information on digital solutions that are being upgraded and updated and brought to the forefront of our OAS businesses. So without further ado, I will start a short little presentation just to run through the OAS business as it is at the moment, and obviously lead into Kevin, who will take over with the TurfKeeper presentation for today. You okay, boys? Ready to go?
Good.
All good.
Have we got any replies from the attendees today, or is it a question as we go, or questions at the end? Have they got facility, Adam, to ask questions?
I believe they have the chat, but if not, then send any questions. If there are any issues, send any questions into you, Jeremy, and we will make sure they're answered. And I think that's right.
Right, can everyone see my screen? There should be a little picture of Origin and some nice pictures.
We can, yes.
Yes, yeah, no probs.
Okay, let me just turn my camera off now then for a moment, because I need to try and use the both screens, if that's okay. Right, I don't know whether anybody else has joined now, but obviously we are recording this so that we can send the link out to people later on, and anyone who is unable to join us today can pick up on this later. So I'm just going to run through a quick introduction. Pretty much some of you will have seen some of these slides before, but obviously we're bringing it up to date as we go along, so there will be some new developments on there. Quick insight into the development of OAS, Origin Amenity Solutions. If it'll go to the next slide. There you go. So obviously Origin Amenity Solutions are part of Origin Enterprises, which is obviously a large group with obviously manufacturing in Europe and across in Brazil that forms the major part of the business, which obviously is agriculture. But if we look at the area on the right, the living landscapes, that's the area that we all cover and we all work in. Sports and recreation, the urban, rural, green infrastructure, and obviously a big one at the moment that Origin have invested heavily in is the biodiversity and the renewable energies, and you'll see some of those companies as we go forward now. So if you think about living landscapes, these are the companies that are involved in that group of companies. So Origin Amenity Solutions is obviously what we're representing as a whole. TurfKeeper is a big part of that and has been for a number of years. Enviral is a manufacturing liquid part of the business, and PB Kent is the granular. And obviously Linemark is the other company you'll probably know that stands out for all the line marking paint and machines and tiny mobile robots that they cover. The other parts of the business are all very important, because they're all other parts, which some of them are landscape and chemical companies, and obviously green tech. They're online companies and ground tracks with the infrastructure for portable roads and different things. So this is probably the main thing that will be of interest, and especially for today. You can see the growth and the expansion of OAS from the day that they bought PB Kent, which was the fertilizer production, to taking on Rigby Taylor. That was probably the main start for where they developed OAS and where we went today. TurfKeeper comes in very early there, I think, Kev, you said it may have even been 2013, but officially they're showing 2016.
Yeah, TurfKeeper came in 2013. Jez, that's when Origin took the global license to sell TurfKeeper. Yeah.
Okay. We can see there Headland, Symbio, Limac, the companies that we know today have been brought together to create the OAS portfolio of products, and then obviously the other parts of the business that came on with a lot of landscaping and, like I say, a lot of the environmental companies in the last few years. So as we said, Limemark, basically that makes all the paints, that we supply through the UK market, export into 52 different countries, UK, Ireland. Only some of those via my part of the business, is limited because there is also a Limemark International and a Limemark Global part of that business. But we're over 2 million litres of paint last year, and they're hoping to double that now going forward over the next 12 or 18 months with the growing capability of Enviro in the manufacturing side. Like I say, I'll try and whiz through this quick as I can because the main reason today is to get the TurfKeeper and MachineKeeper webinar put across. So if you think about PB Kent, again, granular manufacturing for the whole of the Origin businesses. So they can do up to 40,000 tons of fine turf or 50,000 tons of agricultural, because it's obviously larger granular. But we also now have our own coating plant there now, where we are now obviously making all our own controlled release and coated fertilizer, that was a big investment, and that's a big advantage to OAS as a company to have their own coating facility. Obviously, they will supply to other customers and other distributors and different things because it's a big part of the business. But we are obviously PB Kent's biggest customer and part of the group. Enviro, again, obviously has grown and expanded. This is where a lot of our liquid products are manufactured and made. A lot of trialing and testing there with the chemists, and the laboratories they have. And again, this is the same plant where the Limemark facilities are made. So obviously, if you think of Origin as a whole, there's over 101 sort of colleagues involved in the sales side. There's obviously warehousing and manufacturing, everything behind, but just on this side of it, 75 customer facing. We work in market segments with sports, fine turf, and then local authorities. And obviously we send direct to end users and exports via European distributors. What do we cover? We cover nearly everything, really. Not that that's all available to the European distributor network, but obviously from UK and Ireland, plant protection, plant nutrition, grass seed, flower seed, biologicals, line marking, tools, obviously irrigation, which is a big one that Angus is involved in through the Rainbird exclusive distributorship that we have through the UK and Ireland. And then obviously the digital platforms, which we're going to discuss today with Kevin and Angus. Warehousing, obviously over the years we've had different warehouses for the different brands, but now we have a centralized warehouse that is expanding all the time and improving. And the latest improvements to that was obviously the new offices in the upstairs, and now we have a very nice shiny meeting facilities and boardroom there, where it's a central location for us all to utilize for meetings and bringing clients and customers. Again, we still have the turf research facility. It's a bit more, it's not so much run now by OAS, it's run by sort of an independent research company that we own, and they do the trials there for us in conjunction with Kelly and anyone else that's involved down there to run them. We work with leading manufacturers, and we have some exclusive partnerships with some of these, Rainbird, Emvu, Cortiva, Tiny Robots. Obviously, we're exclusive with those for UK and Ireland. Syngenta and Certis. That actually completes my little part for today. I will be on here obviously for any questions later on, but I'm going to sort of stop sharing now and pass on to Kevin, who is going to start through the TurfKeeper platform. Has mine stopped sharing now?
It has, Jez. Yeah, thanks very much. I will just try and share mine. So give me 2 seconds, everybody. Entire screen. Share that away. Can you tell me if that's showing okay?
Yeah,
It
you've
is.
got the same I had, Kev.
Snap. Okay, right. Let's go to page 1. Can you tell me, has that gone over to my first slide?
Yes.
Super. Okay. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us on this webinar. I don't have many PowerPoints to show you. You'll be pleased. I'm going to give you a little quick intro to myself and TurfKeeper, and then I'm going to go through a couple of slides just to explain where we are, how TurfKeeper can be used, and our current global reach. And then I'm going to share the live software, and we're just going to quickly go through to give you a bit of an appetite as to what TurfKeeper can do, what kind of things you can do on it, what kind of things you can see on it, and the value that can bring to any turf operation. So the first slide, what is TurfKeeper? Well, it's a web-based management system. It's completely online. It's a system that allows us to plan work if you want to plan work, or if you're not sort of keen on forward planning, the customers can use it as a digital diary. Because the problem that we find in the turf sector is that we all keep nice records that are often on paper, written down, and the difficulty is getting the information off the paper in a way that we can then effectively communicate to committees and hierarchy. It's an area where we can store staff details, we can analyze cost and expenditure, we can formulate budgets and manage budgets, we can minimize stock wastage, we can also improve the way we manage and maintain machinery, we can then improve communication. And the whole ethos really is to improve efficiency and save time. And we advocate that by having everything in one place. So if you can imagine, we've got machinery maintenance records in a filing cabinet on one file, we've got stock information on another, we've got a written whiteboard for tasks. Everything's very fragmented all over the place. So the idea is that a system like TurfKeeper brings everything in-house onto one platform that, as you can see by its accessibility, is completely web-based. It's completely cloud-based, and that allows us to access it at any time, anywhere. It can be used on multiple devices, whether that's laptops, tablets, mobile phones. It allows multi-user login, simultaneous access, so there's no limit to the amount of people that can log in and use this system. So it's great for integrating staff and improving communication within teams that are looking after any stadium, golf course, schools, colleges, universities. Because it's online, it means that we can send out upgrades instantaneously. There's nothing to download. It's completely, as I say, it's completely web-based. That gives us greater flexibility of use. We've also got a Google Translate plugin. We are already, as you'll see on the next slides, in quite a few global worldwide venues that are multi-language, and so we can bridge that gap with the Google Translate plugin that we've got on the system. Where can it be used? Basically, it can be used on any or in any organization. The ethos that we carry at TurfKeeper is, if you've got areas of work and you've got tasks and you've got machinery, you can adapt TurfKeeper to use anywhere. So we're in golf courses, we're in football and rugby stadiums, cricket venues, colleges and schools. We're used by landscaping contractors. So wherever there's tasks, wherever there's areas to look after machinery and stock, TurfKeeper can be utilised. So it's very, very adaptable. And our global reach, we've got 500 plus organisations worldwide. Obviously, we're very, very strongly focused on the UK and Europe, and we've got distribution in Spain, Australia, Asia, and Canada. And we're multi-sector, as I said before. We're not just golf, we're stadiums, parks departments. So that's it for the PowerPoint presentation. That's just to give you a little bit of an insight into TurfKeeper. What I'll now do is I will go in and we will start to, I'll share the screen again. I'll just need to get the live system up. So I've probably done this wrong, but there we go. If my colleagues can just confirm that they can see my screen.
We can. Yep.
Super.
Yep.
Okay. So this is TurfKeeper. This is live. This is my demo account. So this follows a golf course as an example. We log in, and on the left-hand side navigation, we've got an area where we can plan work and where we can diarise work. We've got an area for machinery management, so we can do machinery maintenance. We can also record the cost of machinery downtime and repair. We can control stock. We can formulate fertilizer planning. We can track kilograms of nitrogen, phosphate, and potassium applied. We can budget, so we can formulate budgets, and we can add spends, and we can track budgets and look at all the financials. Within the resources, there's an area for health and safety. There's an area for uploading policy documents, training documents, that kind of thing. Again, which are then online. So everything that we add to TurfKeeper is online and accessible from anywhere. And then one of the major USPs is the reports. So within the reports, which we'll go through briefly, that's really the USP of the system. So all the aspects as the planner and the diary, the machinery and the stock and the budgeting all come into reports. So that's the idea of the system. The idea of the system is to give you information that you can use on a daily basis, you know, preparing for meetings to get the point across as to why perhaps an establishment might need more staff, why things maybe aren't done, what you'd like to do, but you need to then articulate that you need more resources to do it with. The idea is that you would use the reports and the data that TurfKeeper can give you. So the first thing is, if we click onto the planner or the diary, because remembering that we don't have to use it as a planner, we could just use it as a diary, we get a weather forecast at the top. Now, I've already pre-inputted some tasks, and all we're simply doing there is we're clicking on the staff member's name and we're telling the system that we've done a task on an area and we're adding that as a task. Now, one of the key USPs of the system, which is very, very popular, is the digital jobs board view. So if I just click onto the jobs board, we can see there the tasks from the planner come through. So the idea would be that whether we're on a golf course or a football stadium or a parks department, whoever's in charge of formulating the jobs for the day can then share this to a large screen TV so that all the staff in that workplace have got oversight. Now, in its most basic view, this is telling us that this staff member, Andy Smith, is going to cut the greens on the golf course, then he's going to edge the paths, and then he's going to divot the driving range. Same with Paula, same with Terry. Of course, we can add more details. So if we said that Richard was going to go out on the greens and he was going to cut the greens, the head greenkeeper or course manager or stadium manager might say, look out for disease. Okay. So this is just to show you what the end user can use, you know, to maximize all the features. So we can put a note in, and then we can say that we want to use a machine. So we can now add a machine. And the idea with this is to increase the communication. So now I've put a task in that's got a little bit more added to it. And if I open up the jobs board, that now shows us that Richard Smith is cutting greens and he's using a particular machine, and we've added a particular note for that staff member. So they can see this on a large screen TV for communication, and staff members can also access this on their phones and see the tasks on their phones. So it's a great platform for increasing communication so that everybody's got visible sight of all the tasks. Now, there's also an area for machinery. If we click on here, we can see our full machine fleet. And if I click down onto fairway mowers, just as an example, this is the sort of information that the end user can have. Again, just to tidy everything up and have everything in one place, instead of having information fragmented in a filing cabinet, you know, in a book somewhere. You know, we can have a picture of the machine on there, its make and its model number. We can categorize it, and we can put things like serial numbers in. We can also bring in equipment spare parts, which then can be used in servicing, and we can then attribute that to the cost of servicing the machine. If we want to, we can count a maintenance program down. So the system is allowing us to put a service schedule in that will count the hours down as we use the equipment in the planner or the diary. And then that can send us a warning to say that we're due an air filter change or an oil filter change. Again, it's to improve the communication. That's the ethos with the system. And then lastly, we can record downtime and repair costs for equipment. So if ever an establishment's in a situation where they've got to attend a meeting to try and say to the club or, you know, the football club, we need a new mower because it's constantly breaking down, we can then get that information and present it so that the manager can get their point across. Likewise with stock, we get full stock overview on TurfKeeper. We can filter that out however we like. If we click down onto fungicides, just as an example for the communication and having everything in one place, if we click on the information icon for this product, we can see the vendor, origin amenity, we can see the cost, we've got oversight of the active ingredients that are in this product, and then we can add files like the safety data sheets, which we can click on and we can get those up straight away, so everything is in one tidy place. And we can also add application notes as well, so staff have got full oversight of the rate of applications. That could be how many litres per hectare something needs to be applied at. It could be the spreader settings for a granular fertilizer. But again, we've got full oversight of our stock. That stock can be used in the planner, and that stock can be reduced if we add a task and we say that we're going to fertilize a pitch or golf greens using 12 bags of fertilizer. Once we complete the task, those bags are reduced off our stock overview, they're costed up, and they're put towards a report, which I'm going to finish on lastly to show you the report capability of the system. There's also an area for chemical and fertilizer planning. The benefit of this is, again, we've got full oversight of what we're going to apply and how many kilograms of nitrogen, phosphate and potassium we're going to put down in an application. That then allows us to view a graph view of our accrued nitrogen, phosphate and potassium applications. Again, it's another area of the system that cuts out doing time-consuming calculations, and it keeps everybody abreast of what nutrients we've put into the turf, any of our surfaces. We can have full budget oversight on TurfKeeper. So the end user can formulate a budget. We can clearly see there what our annual budget total is, what we've spent so far, and what we've got remaining. We can enter a spend if we've rung a vendor up and added and bought an application of fungicide or seed or fertilizer. We can come in, we can attribute this to a line item that then allows us to then view reports. Again, we've got full oversight of all our financials. We can clearly see what we've budgeted versus what we've spent for each of our line items. We can see our percentage of spend for our different areas in our budget, and we can see our spend by month and our spend by suppliers, which then brings us to resources. And resources is an area where we can upload documents, we can upload maintenance documents, staff training records. They then become online because the system's web-based. Maybe a little bit more for UK, but we've got some health and safety sections on there. We can fill out a chemical application log for chemical application compliance, and we've got chemical assessment templates and we've got task risk assessment templates. I won't labour too much on those because I know that varies from country to country. Lastly, if we click down onto reports, this really is the USP of the system. It's the reports area. The one that we'll look at is tasks. So if you can imagine at a venue, the course manager, the head groundsman currently might keep a written paper diary. If he then has to answer questions to the hierarchy as to, you know, how many tasks have they done on a particular area, how many labour hours have they spent maintaining the golf course, and how many labour hours have they spent maintaining greens, and what have they spent that money on? The difficulty with that is getting the information out of the diary, because it's static, it's written, and transferring that into a way that they can then articulate themselves and show people is really difficult. This is where TurfKeeper really comes in to itself and helps us. So on the task overview, this is like we're looking at the golf course or the stadium. And what we can do is we can put a date range in. It allows us to put a date range in and filter that out. Okay. Now, the first sets of reports that it'll show us is complete site overview. Once this generates, we can see that we've done 3,300 tasks on the golf course as an example. We can see how many tasks we've done on the bunkers, how many we've completed on the greens, how many we've completed on the tees. As we then move down, we can now see the cost, which is derived of the labour costs of the staff, the material cost, the fertiliser, the wetting agent, the seed, the fungicide, and the fuel usage with the machinery. So we can see any area like bunkers, pitch 1, pitch 2, the main stadium pitch. We can see a cost derived of labour, material and fuel. And we can see that in percentage form. So as an example, in a meeting, this course manager or superintendent could say that the greens are 37% of the operational cost. The bunkers are 22% of the operational cost. Now, for me, as an ex-course manager, the most important report on here is this one. This is the labour hours. This is telling us how many physical labour hours we've spent on the golf course, on the football stadium and the training department. So that's how many hours that we've spent maintaining the bunkers. That's how many hours we've spent maintaining the fairways and how many hours we've spent maintaining the greens. Again, we can see that in percentage form. We can see that 23% of our actual labour time is spent maintaining the bunkers and 31% is spent maintaining the greens. Just to show you the depth that we can go into with it, can then go up into the top and we can then go into the greens and we can see everything that we do on the greens. By clicking into the box, this now analyses all the tasks in more details that we've done on a particular area. So as an example, we can see that we've spent 45 hours aerating the greens with the Air 2G2. We can see that we've spent 789 hours cutting, and it could be that we can show that we've done 253 hours rolling, but we've only been aerating the greens for 45 hours. So it gives the end user, their greenkeeper course manager, full oversight on all the tasks that they do that would ordinarily just be written in a diary that they can't really use and present to people. So the idea is the communication and the presentation. We can then show a cost percentage of all the materials that we've used. So we can see how much top dressing have we applied, what's the cost of top dressing. We can show that we've put 147 tons of this particular product down, 10 litres of this product, and so on. We can also show the hours worked by the team, by the staff. So if we're doing staff reviews, we can see all the information. And so these reports go on and on for each area. So I'm not going to go through every single area, but you can see from this the richness of the reports that we can get. Not only that, we can get staff overview reports. So we can use this to capture the time, you know, how many hours as a staff member worked this week, how many overtime hours have they worked, how many absence days have they had, how many holidays have they taken. We can see full stock overview on all the products that we have on site. We can see that in text form, and we can also scroll down and we can see that in graph form. So that is full stock overview and full stock management on the system as well. And then lastly, we've got the machinery section, or second to last, because we've got weather. We can also look at machinery service history. Just as an example to show everybody, if we click on downtime and repair, if you can imagine a situation where the end user wants to convince the club or the football club to get a new machine because it's problematic and it's breaking down a lot, we can filter a date range like this, and we can go down to a particular machine, and we can call that machine up, and we can show why we want to perhaps get a new machine, because we can show in date order exactly what has gone wrong with that machine. We can show how many hours it's been in repair as opposed to how many hours has it actually been physically cutting. So this machine's been down for 153 hours, so it's not very practicable. And as we go down, we can show the cost. So the reason why we want rid of this machine is because it's cost us £25,000. Of course, the system is available in different currencies. So we've got euros and krona and all kinds of things. But just to give you a bit of a taste of what TurfKeeper can offer, that is pretty much it from me. Hopefully you can see the benefit of a full management system and what that could bring to your customers. We are at a lot of, what should I say, prestigious organisations and stadiums and golf courses throughout Europe. And we're at very mediocre stadiums and organisations. So by no means is TurfKeeper a system that would just appeal to the elite organisations. We are literally in from the grassroots upwards. So hopefully that gave you some insight. I will stop sharing my screen and I'll pass over to my colleague Angus, who's going to our latest app centered on machinery pre-start checks and safety called MachineKeeper. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks, Kev. So I'll very just quickly share my screen. And can you see that? I hope.
Yeah, see it, Angus. Angus, do you want to give a quick introduction to yourself and obviously the other part of the business that you working with, the irrigation and the digital solutions?
Yeah, not a problem. So Angus Finlayson, my official job title is Irrigation and Digital Solutions Lead. So in the UK, we're the exclusive distributor for Rainbird. So I spend a lot of my time working with golf courses and facilities for irrigation projects, and then the other half of my time working on digital solutions. So I work very closely with Kev under his product portfolio with TurfKeeper, MachineKeeper, but I also look after many of the performance testing tools, all the digital tools across the portfolio. But today I'm just going to focus on MachineKeeper, a new app that's been built, or a dedicated app and web portal, coming as a spin-off from TurfKeeper. So first thing to mention is TurfKeeper can be used as a standalone product. MachineKeeper can be used as a standalone product. However, if you have a customer that does have TurfKeeper, MachineKeeper does integrate with TurfKeeper. And by that, I mean, if the customer will have the same login details for TurfKeeper as they do for MachineKeeper, and any machinery that they've added onto TurfKeeper or any machinery database, that will automatically pull across to MachineKeeper. So if you've got a customer that does sign up for TurfKeeper and a year later they want MachineKeeper, it's as simple as us just toggling and turning that on, and then they can sign in straight away and all of their database is there. However, you can have MachineKeeper as a standalone product and you don't need TurfKeeper to go ahead with that. So MachineKeeper was originally designed to be focused on machinery pre-start checks. However, the way the system's been designed is it's fully customizable to the user. So any asset or machinery that you have at any facility that needs a periodic check, MachineKeeper can be utilized that way. So MachineKeeper has both a dedicated mobile app that you can download from the App Store or the Play Store, and it also has a web login, which you can log in and customize all your forms. And the idea is it will replace any paper-based checks that you're doing across your course. So a lot of facilities we see are doing daily pre-start checks on paper. The guys are coming in each morning, doing a paper check for each machine to make sure it's compliant and good to use. and then they're storing that paper in a filing system, and then it never gets looked at again. So what this system aims to do is replace those paper-based checks, and then we have the benefits of, because it's all cloud hosted and we have instant access to that data, we can utilize notifications and also auditing systems. We can quickly pull all the reports for all the checks that we've done.
Angus,
So with,
sorry, apologies. Before you move on to the next screen, you just have the faces of people on your screen. So if you want to move that, and then they see the whole screen. Apologies.
So MachineKeeper, the benefit of digitizing your pre-start checks or checks on equipment or assets is we can do real-time alerts. So when we set up our forms, we can set the forms to send notifications to a mechanic or any admin that you want to set up on the software. So as soon as a piece of equipment fails a check, it will instantly notify the technician or mechanic that said piece of equipment has failed. So in terms of keeping on top of your machinery servicing and fixing machines, it increases your efficiency massively across your whole fleet. Now with the MachineKeeper, almost all courses now are using a QR code system. So we have marine grade QR codes that get sent out to the courses. These QR codes are actually designed to be stuck on the side of a boat, so they're fully waterproof. I don't think we've had any returns yet, so they're pretty robust QR codes that stick onto the machinery. You stick those QR codes onto the machine, and the first time you scan that QR code, it will ask you to assign that QR code to a machine. Once you've assigned that QR code to your machine or to your asset, every time from then on that you scan that QR code, it will automatically pull up the machine. You can then create your own customizable checks. So anyone that's used Microsoft Forms, Google Forms to create kind of a questionnaire, it's very similar to that. So you create your custom questions. There can be long answer questions, short answer, pass or fail questions, date inputs, photo uploads, anything you want. So fully customizable to your course. There's no limitations on what type of question you can ask. So once they've scanned the QR code, they choose the check they want to do, and they work through the check on their mobile phone. They submit the check, and then they can go off and use that piece of machine or machinery. Everything's stored online, so you can access it anywhere. You haven't got to be on site to access all of your pre-start checks. You can be at home on your computer, and you can access all of those checks that have been done. So I've got here a very short video of the mobile app. So this mobile app is actually the same app that your TurfKeeper members would use. So any jobs that are set on TurfKeeper get sent through to the notifications on this app. But this is also the app that MachineKeeper used to do the pre-start checks. So imagine in the morning, you head down to the sheds and you want to do a check on the machine before you jump on it and start using it. So we have a dashboard here, and this is actually a visual crossing weather. So we can click into that, and it's a paid for weather source that we provide free of charge. We have a machinery tab at the bottom. So if you clicked on that machinery tab, we can actually find a machine without using a QR code. So we can do the checks at any point should we want. But we do have the green button in the bottom middle there, which will open up our camera. So once this button is clicked, it will open up the camera and we can scan a QR code. So we imagine the QR code sticker is stuck to the rocks bars of the machine. When we scan that QR code, it automatically pulls up the machine. So in this case, the Toro 4500. We can see the days of the week. And if we wanted to, we can actually backdate a check. But if we select the day of the week we want to do a check, it pulls up all of the pre-assigned checks that are assigned to that asset. So you could have one check on there, you could have 5 checks on there, you can have as much or as little as you like. In this case, we've got lots of checks as an example. So we're not just checking machines, we can check goalposts, tractors, any equipment. So we choose the check we want to do, and that will pull up our questionnaire. So in this case, we've got a simple check, which is a pass or fail. So we work our way down the form. If anything was to fail, again, we can set up the notifications to instantly send that across to the mechanic, and they'll get a breakdown and report of what's failed and when it failed and who submitted that failure. We can add a signature in there, should we like. However, each individual user will have their own account. So it actually submits a ticket, you can see at the bottom. So it knows who's done the check, when they've done it, and what device they've done it on. So you don't actually need a signature, because it will submit a ticket with each check that's done. So once we submit that check, goes through, tells us it's been submitted, and if nothing's failed and the machine's in good working order, we can then go on the machine and use it. We can actually go through each individual machine on the app and look at the timeline of when checks have been done. And we can actually view those checks and see if anything's passed or failed, all from the app. So gone to the timeline here, we click on a date that we want to view a check. I'm sorry, it doesn't do this in this demo. We could click a date that we want to do a check, and it will load up the audit on that, or that you've done to that machine. I thought it would be good to emphasize that you can use this pre-start check or asset check application across multiple facilities and not just focus at fleet management. We have got facilities now doing the checks on goalposts, so periodic goalpost checks, whether that's daily, weekly, or yearly. We've got a few contractors doing checks on pump sets, fire extinguishers, and we've even got certain facilities using this on their golf carts. But anything that needs a check, MachineKeeper can tick that box. I do have one golf course that's bought a separate account, or looking at buying a separate account to do checks on their kitchen equipment. Because it's fully customizable, even though it's called MachineKeeper, it can be checked on anything. I like to emphasize how we've kind of streamlined the customer onboarding in terms of less work required from yourselves. Once a customer signs up, it's almost the customer always has the ability to self-onboard themselves. So Kev spends a lot of time creating how-to guides, demo videos, and that's all included in an email that goes out and the welcome letter pack. So once a customer signs up, they'll receive an email saying, welcome to MachineKeeper. In the post, a QR code pack will follow. And on that email will be a bunch of how-to guides. Now, I'll probably say around 90% of our customers are now self-onboarding. So once you sign them up, it's not lots of work on your end to support the customer. They can kind of be self-sufficient on getting up and running. Obviously, you'll have a few customers that may need support, but most people, it's kind of self-intuitive to get up and running. So that's all I've got on MachineKeeper. I know it's very brief. I don't know if Kev wants to jump in at all and add anything.
No, that's fine, Angus. That was absolutely fine. You covered all the points there exactly. All I'd sort of say is that we are aware that through safety compliance, it varies from country to country. But anybody that's got any turf maintenance equipment, Toro, John Deere, Jacobson, in their operator's manual, it will say that they should be doing periodic checks and they should be doing pre-use checks before that machine's done, in order to make sure the equipment's safe, but also to minimize the risk of that machine running out of oil or producing a hydraulic leak, because certain things should be checked prior to use. And as Angus very put it very well, that's exactly what MachineKeeper is aimed at doing.
Yeah,
I would imagine, Kev, obviously that is towards the warranty of the machine as well. So obviously you've got evidence to say that those checks and that work's been done as well. So if there is an issue or you've got a query with the warranty, I would imagine it would help with that.
Yeah, it will, Jez. Yeah, I mean, the first thing that as somebody that's been on the tools, and I know you have as a practicing course manager, we know only too well that as soon as there's an issue with a piece of equipment, especially if that equipment's brand new and it's within warranty, the first thing that the equipment vendor, Toro, John Deere, Jacobson, will say is, has that piece of equipment been maintained? Has it been checked? Has it been greased? Has the oil been checked? And that is the first thing that will come back. And so, as Angus showed us, MachineKeeper is a great platform for proving that these checks have been carried out.
Jeremy will reach out to everyone regards pricing. It's obviously the main question most people will ask, but very competitive in the market. We never see ourselves outpricing ourselves. So Jez will reach out with you regarding that.
And if people, I guess, Jez, if people want to email you the questions, Jez can share that with myself and Angus, and we can get back to you promptly if you feel you don't want to put it in the chat today, which is absolutely fine. If you want to email us, that's absolutely fine. We'll get back to you as soon as we can, very conveniently.
There's another webinar on May the 19th. That's at 2:30 in the afternoon UK time. and that's to cover the new thatch zyme product that we are launching in, well, obviously in the UK, but we're just waiting for final registration for Europe and the countries that it's available there. So that's another one that will be being hosted next week by Jamie, and that'll be a good one to attend as well. So with that, I thank everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you to Kevin, Angus, and like I say, if there is any questions or any emails coming in, then we will get back to you as soon as we can on those.
Yeah, no problem. Likewise, thank you everybody for attending, and thanks to Jez for and Adam for organising it, and colleague Angus for stepping on and helping out as well.